Hello everybody and welcome to today's Destiny video. So this video was suggested about 3 times to me to do something like this. It's a little bit weird and out of my comfort zone a little bit, showing off stuff, but I decided to spin it in a direction which would make it a little less vain and a little bit more of a like what I use and what you can probably use too. It's more of just a personal opinion thing. Obviously everybody's opinion changes with these kind of things, but this is going to be my favourite guns, okay, and my favourite class. If you want me to do an armour video, then just wait, and just let me know if you want me to do it. But I didn't think armour would be that good of a video, or at least it should be its own video just because there's so much armour in the game. So, let's get into this. So we're going to start with PvE stuff first. So, this is basically what my PvE loadout looks like. So let's start at the top. Gunslinger. So this is what I usually run. I usually run Incendiary Grenade just because it gives me a little bit more freedom with how I can throw my grenades. Trip mines aren't that good in PvE in my opinion. I use Triple Jump because Triple Jump. I use Combustion because Combustion is really good at exploding other enemies. It's just a really good perk to have. It can kill groups of enemies reasonably easily. I use Knife Juggler just in case I get in those thrall situations or dregs when they're running at you and you just want to keep like chaining headshots. That's really, really good. And it also goes really well with perk in a minute. I use Path Unknown because I want that extra, I think it's extra armor. Yeah, it's extra armor. I like having a reasonably even armor recovery agility loadout for PvE. I use Gunslinger's Trance, which gives me stability and stacks 3 times, which is just really, really handy. And obviously that stacks with Knife Juggler. Is that right? Yeah, that stacks with Knife Juggler, which just makes it insane. Also, I've got Wave Drifter, which again just reduces my armor and gives me recovery and agility. I've got Chain of Woe, which, yeah, precision kills increase reload speed, which also stacks with Knife Juggler. So all these things I just like to get a little bit of synergy going, and it helps, and it really, really works out. It's awesome. I really like it. This is always a class I run when I'm using PvE. Next up, we have the Fatebringer. So this is my go-to PvE legendary primary. However, if I was to run an exotic, my favourite exotic PvE gun is Red Death. So Red Death is my favourite PvE exotic gun. However, there's hardly any reason to use it when I've got Fatebringer out most of the time. Fatebringer just gets the job done. It's an elementary primary, and Arc is so valuable in the game. Also, Fatebringer is just one of those hand cannons which just has a really high impact and just decent stats all around with a decently high magazine. So you don't even need to use Field Scout. So I use Single Point Sling. Next up, we've got a special weapon. Now, if I was going to run an exotic, I would run Icebreaker in this slot. However, obviously, again, there's no point in using Icebreaker when I have Found Verdict. Found Verdict is my favourite PvE gun. However, sometimes I switch it out for Black Hammer, and then sometimes obviously I switch it out for Icebreaker if I'm running low on ammo. But Found Verdict is such a good workhorse weapon for those close range, like tier 2 enemies, tier 3 enemies with shields and stuff like that. It's really good against captains, even Minotaurs and stuff like that. It just burns through. So that's just a really awesome gun. And then lastly, my exotic heavy is going to be the Gjallarhorn. It's just OP. It's overpowered in PvE. To be honest, I wouldn't even mind if this got a nerf in PvE just because of how overpowered it is. It's silly how good this weapon is. It means this weapon basically makes it a little bit pointless to use any other exotic, which is why I run two legendaries in my other slots. It just makes it a little bit pointless. But if I was to use a PvE legendary gun, it would be Hunger of Crota. Hunger of Crota is basically Gjallarhorn's little brother, basically. It's just a really, really good rocket launcher. It's just not quite as good if you compare up. If you just compare. The blast radius is better, but the velocity isn't very good and reload isn't very good. Obviously, tracking is the same. And cluster bombs are nowhere near as good as Wolfpack rounds. I'm sure everybody knows this. But yeah, it's just really, really subpar. If you're going to be doing big damage quickly, you want to be using your Gjallarhorn. Okay, so this is what I run for most of my PvP encounters. So once again, my favourite subclass of all the subclasses in the game is still Gunslinger. Gunslinger is just my favourite class. Full stop. It's just amazing. And this is what I usually run. So I usually run Trip Mines. Just because they're just so good for those clutch situations where someone just runs around a corner and just instant dies. They're not very good against Titans, usually they can survive them, but one hand cannon shot and they're usually dead. So triple jump is obviously still on there, just gives you a little bit more control over your jump. Combustion is the same again. You'll be surprised at how many kills you can get with combustion. There's actually a video on my channel of a decent combustion kill. Also, I changed up Knife Juggler to Incendiary Blade. You won't be using your knife as much as usual unless it is like the main reason you're running the build. However, if you're just running Gunslinger normally, then you're probably not going to be using your Incendiary Blade much. Your throwing knife much. And if you are using it, you want to do that extra damage. So I've gone with Incendiary Blade, and obviously to make up for that, I've gone over here with double throwing knife, just because these other two aren't as beneficial in PvP to me. Next up, I use Path Forbidden and Way of a Drifter just to increase my agility a little bit while still keeping my recovery and armor slightly on the plus side, just to make sure I don't get like one shot by shit. Also, I use Keyhole in this perk just because I like to get those I like to use Keyhole just to get those extra Golden Gun bullets. It does work. This plus Combustion makes Golden Gun insane, especially with the helmet I usually use. I usually use Symbiote, which means I got 4 shots, so that's even more damage. So next up, I'm going to go over my exotic primary. So my go-to exotic primary is The Last Word. Now, The Last Word isn't just my favourite primary, it's also one of my favourite looking. This was actually my first ever exotic in the whole game. First exotic armor, first exotic weapon. It was just my first exotic. I got it out of a rare engram, I do believe, and I was over the fucking moon when I got this. Basically, it's insane. Obviously, everybody knows at this point that this gun is insane, so I'm not going to cover it that much. Next up, my legendary go-to primary is the Fulcrum, and I've already done a video on this and about how awesome it is, so go watch that. But just briefly, basically it has final round, look in a chamber, and I am not on a PlayStation 4, so I want my mini Hawkmoon. That's it, that's the only reason. Next up, we've got our secondary. Now for our secondary, in the legendary slot, I would be using Patience and Time if I had the slot. I love the look of this gun. I love the way it plays. It's a really good gun on like long range maps like First Light, Bastion and Skywatch, things like that. It's just a really, really efficient gun. The impact's slightly on the low side, but it still gets the job done. It's really good for stability and reload. It's just a really, 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 really awesome gun, and it looks awesome too. And then obviously with our special weapon, we have the LDR. Now this is my workhorse. You might have already noticed I've got final round on this, however I've got 6 in the mag. I could reduce that to perfect balance or snapshot and then I can use final round more, but to be honest I never use it. I am always going for the head, and if any sniper is not going for the head, they are a bad sniper and shouldn't be using them. I've got ambush scope on it, which just makes it a beast as well. Okay, so last but not least, we have our heavy. So our heavy, in this case, is Jolder's Hammer. That's our legendary weapon we would be using. This is my semi-alright build. I can get a better build with this. I can get, I think Field Scout you can get on this one. This is the Dark Below one, so I think I can get that. So that is my legendary heavy weapon, which I usually use. And then next up I've got Truth. Now if I've got space for an exotic, then Truth is my one to go to. It is insane for PvP. It is like the best PvP gun ever. It's amazing. So that's awesome. Okay, so this last category is all about aesthetics / fun stuff. stuff that I like, just stuff that I've just got like a connection with, I just love. So first of all, the subclass. Now, I have the most fun in the game on Voidwalkers. I think that everything about them is hilariously fun. This isn't the class I would actually use, but Axiom Bolt is awesome. I love using Blink on a Warlock. Also, Vortex, it's just a really good class. It's just fun to mess around with all these perks. You can mess it around as much as you like. It's just a really awesome class. It's just, I love exploding things with just your power of your hands. It's just so fun to use. It's easily my favourite subclass in the game. In terms of aesthetics, I don't usually play Voidwalker. Even when I'm playing my Warlock, I don't play Voidwalker. But it is my favourite looking class and class to play. Okay, so my favourite exotic primary in the aesthetic slot is the No Land Beyond. This gun is beautiful. I love it. Ever since it was first announced, I loved the idea of it. It's such a fun gun to use as well. Once you get into the spirit of it, and when you do the reload cancel, it's just so fun to use. You might not do well with it in PvE or PvP, but no one can deny it's just one of those guns which is always so fun to use. And then my actual legendary primary aesthetic gun is the Devil You Know. Now this gun has been with me since vanilla. Since I first hit level 20, I bought this gun. I saved up my marks and bought this gun. I bought this before I bought any armor because I'm so stupid. I leveled up my Vanguard to level 3. Before I even bought any armor, I just went straight out and bought this. So this gun is one of my oldest legendaries. Apart from the odd legendary I got from packages and stuff before I hit level 3, this was my baby. This was just my baby. I love this gun, and it's so reliable. You would have seen in my latest daily heroic mission. It's just such a good gun. Such a good gun. Now my favourite exotic secondary, which is aesthetically pleasing, is the Patience and Time. Now if I'm not mistaken, this was my second ever exotic, my last word being my first one, and before the game came out, I said to my friend Finn, I want the last word and I want Patience and Time, and guess what I got? I got both of them. So this is my second favourite gun of all time. Really, it's just amazing. I can't believe that this gun is even in the game. It turns you invisible, and it's just so cool. It's just such a cool gun. And the next for our legendary is the LDR 5001. Again, I know, again. But this has been my workhorse since the Dark Below, and I haven't really put it down. I did buy the vendor version first and fell in love with it then. And then I got this awesomely rolled one and just kept with it and dismantled my other ones. This has just been so good to me over the years. It's not even been a year, so I don't even know why I just said that. But you know what I mean. So on to the last category now. We are on to the Gjallarhorn. Now this is my favourite exotic heavy. It just, look at that. It just looks so beautiful. It is amazing. It's so cool looking. And it goes well with so many different shaders. So that is my favourite exotic heavy. And then my favourite legendary heavy is the Veil Victorian. So this has been my beast for the past few months. I've loved this gun. I haven't used it much since the House of Wolves came out, just because there's way better stuff to be used. But this gun has a special place in my heart, and I'll never dismantle it. It's got terrible stats compared to some of the new rocket launchers, but I'm always going to keep it around. All these guns, all these aesthetically pleasing guns, are basically guns that I'm never going to get rid of. They're just so good to me. They've been so good to me over this first year of Destiny, so they'll never get dismantled. So if you liked this video, guys, please do hit that like button, subscribe, comment and all that stuff, because this has been one of those videos where it's been requested by you guys. I probably would never have done this kind of video if it was up to me. However, I did enjoy doing it, so hopefully I can do another one of these to do with armour. Just let me know if you want it. Okay, so I will see you all in tomorrow's video. Goodbye, Guardians.